Consider the lineup, everyone was fully armed. It seemed the team could enter the level C cave, which was completely different from levels D and E. They stepped through the teleportation gate, and inside was pitch black, illuminated only by the mage's spells. In front of them lay a complex cave maze. Strangely, there was no light, nor any sight of monsters. The wealthy guy suddenly asked Sung Jin Wo, "Strange, is there a cave without monsters?" Sung Jin Wo signaled for silence, closing his eyes to listen to the echoing sound from the cave. It sounded like insects, but they couldn't see any. He shouted, "Up there!" Hearing this, everyone quickly looked up, and a swarm of creatures poured down from the ceiling caves. The mage activated a skill to attack the insects, while the tank attracted their attention, provoking them. As the insects were drawn in, the tank took advantage of the opportunity to swiftly eliminate the swarm. Observing the team's strategic combat formation, Sung Jin Wo marveled at the level C team's coordination. Such implicit understanding required extensive training. With coordination like this, even without a healer, they could still fight. However, precisely because there was no healer, they seemed reckless. Even the wealthy guy, though his Titan armor still concealed his lack of experience and true strength. Despite everyone being skilled, Sung Jin Wo still felt something was off. Shortly after clearing out the ant swarm at the entrance, the captain ordered to gather the spoils of war and restore strength. He approached Sung Jin Wo, "Thanks for the warning," he said. However, he was curious, why would a level E hunter like Sung Jin Wo know about the type of monsters and how to attack them? Sung Jin Wo couldn't say it was because of his heightened senses. He replied to Jo, "It's just a feeling." Jo grinned eerily. "Luckily everything was resolved perfectly afterward, thanks to you." But he warned, "I hope you don't use your feelings where you shouldn't." Sung Jin Wo was about to say something, but the mage's shout cut him off. The ant corpses bore strange wounds not caused by players, but resembling bites. This meant that before engaging with the players, the ant swarm had already been heavily injured, indicating territorial disputes among the monsters, possibly even a stronger boss. Seeing the greedy looks of the hunters, Sung Jin Wo felt uneasy. He asked the wealthy guy, "Your sword and shield must be expensive, right?" The wealthy guy confirmed, "Yes, it's because this is my first time leading a team, so my father equipped me with better gear." But he looked puzzled when Sung Jin Wo asked that. And Sung Jin Wo himself didn't know why he asked, but he still needed to be cautious. This bad intuition made him sure that something would happen ever since joining the team. Sung Jin Wo always felt that something was off, especially when he looked at the greedy eyes of the hunters, which made him more worried. The size of the caves varies and is not related to the level. Depending on the situation, some caves take several days to understand the structure inside. While others only take a few hours to reach the boss room, this cave was like a complex maze. Although there weren't many monsters to fight, it took a lot of time on the way. And Sung Jin Wo's job was to carry supplies. As long as there were no incidents, he wouldn't have to engage in combat and could still earn money without fighting monsters. This job was also good, but a sudden warning appeared in Jin Wo's mind, warning him to be careful to avoid losing his life. He wasn't sure why he thought of that, but he knew that his bad intuition had never been wrong. They walked for a long time but didn't see any intact monsters anymore. Instead, they only saw corpses or remnants. Suddenly, the captain stopped and instructed the mage to illuminate an area, revealing a complex maze of spider webs, with many monsters wrapped up like mummies. Of course, this deep and intricate corridor was the boss room, and as they entered, they were immediately drawn to a large amount of spirit energy. Although not as valuable as gems, this quantity could still fetch a considerable amount of money, estimated to be over 10 million. A foolish guy laughed and said to the captain, "Captain, with this much money, your little brother must be jealous to death." The mage quickly interrupted, emphasizing that his little brother shouldn't be mentioned at this moment. seeing the sparkling light of the attracted spirits, the captain smiled with satisfaction and thought to himself, "Little brother, can you see it? I'm not always wrong. Being a slightly higher-ranked hunter means looking down on others. They're blinded by a few measly coins, enjoying VIP privileges. Do they still look down on me now? But I don't just rely on you to live, little brother. This time, I will make my attack team stronger." The subordinates couldn't hide their joy as I calculated how to divide this huge sum of money. Divided into 9 parts, each person would still get a substantial amount, upon hearing the story. The wealthy guy told Sung Jin Wo, "Take out the contract." After reading it, he held the contract and said to the hunters, "This is Sung Jin Wo's contract, which only mentions the distribution of gems from monster hunting, without addressing the division of other items. But you guys divided the spirit energy into 9 parts, which is not fair to Jin Wo, right?" The captain's face immediately darkened, but quickly changed to a gentle expression. "Of course, it has to be divided evenly to be fair, I know that. But first, we have to deal with that troublesome boss. Everyone knows that once the boss is defeated, the cave will close. So, before defeating the spider, we have to extract all the attracted spirits. Luckily, the spider is full and sound asleep. Now is a good time to move." The captain turned to ask if the extraction equipment had been brought along. The subordinate replied in the negative. Who would have thought there would be attracted spirits in a level C cave? "The extraction equipment is all on the vehicle, not brought along," Sung Jin Wo said sarcastically beside him. "Let's see how you guys proceed." Indeed, after the play, they asked Sung Jin Wo and the wealthy guy to stay behind and guard. The rest went back to retrieve the equipment from the vehicle. The wealthy guy immediately panicked. "You're leaving me, a level D hunter, and another level D hunter to guard a level C boss? Are you kidding?" Gajoo appeared innocent. "This is your first time at a level C cave, right? Trust me, it's okay. With such a loud noise, he won't wake up. And also, I have something to discuss with the teammates. Let's all go outside for a smoke break and then come back immediately." After saying that, they skillfully left the cave. Watching the shadows of the hunters, Sung Jin Wo recalled the captain's words that they often did so. It meant they frequently entered and exited the level C gate without recruiting new members to fill vacancies. Outside the cave, the captain smirked demonically, ordering the mage to block the entrance to the boss room. The mage also chuckled at the wealthy guy's horror. A deafening explosion rocked the area as a series of large rocks fell, blocking the entrance to the spider's cave. Sung Jin Wo's bad intuition proved correct once again. They were indeed ruthless hunters. In order to possess a large quantity of attracted spirits, they imprisoned Sung Jin Wo and the wealthy guy inside the boss room. Sung Jin Wo also understood the meaning behind the captain's words about not using his intuition in the wrong place. Being a hunter inside the cave was both enticing and dangerous. Sometimes, the most dangerous creature wasn't a monster but a human. Inside the cave, there was no law enforcement supervision. Even if something happened, those outside wouldn't know, so crimes often occurred inside the cave. There was a type of hunter called the lizard, who, upon discovering useless or obstructive teammates, would discard them like a scorpion cutting off its own tail too. And with his keen intuition, Sung Jin Wo had unwittingly joined a group of true scorpions. To seize a large quantity of attracted spirits, they imprisoned him and the wealthy guy in the boss room. "So that's what it meant," he muttered. He felt the large rock blocking the cave entrance. It seemed the mage had stacked them tightly. However, this level of obstruction wouldn't be enough to stop Sung Jin Wo if he was determined to escape. The problem was the loud noise from earlier had awakened the boss spider. The hunters exited the teleportation gate, and a puzzled hunter asked the captain, "Why make it so complicated? Why not just kill them inside?" The captain snapped angrily. "Fool! Killing them inside with the noise would wake up the spider, then do we have time to dig for spirits?" A level E hunter, with the weakest weapon, and a level D hunter, inexperienced in gaming, couldn't kill the boss even if they tried their hardest. We'll wait for the spider to eat and sleep, then, we'll have a chance to gather the spirits. If this method fails, we'll have to kill the boss. But did you see the wealthy guy's equipment? Just his dagger and shield alone are worth tens of millions. Even if we don't gather all the spirits, taking his items will suffice. Inside the boss room, the monstrous spider opened its mouth wide, eyeing the two prey hungrily. Despite being terrified, the wealthy guy stood in front, shielding Sung Jin Wo. Sung Jin Wo calmly drew his dagger and said to the wealthy guy, "Let me handle this." The wealthy guy looked at Sung Jin Wo in disbelief as he slowly advanced towards the giant spider. He thought Sung Jin Wo must be insane. Even a level B hunter isn't sure of killing a level C boss, let alone a level E hunter. It's better to think of a way to escape rather than taking such risks. The wealthy guy's assessment wasn't wrong. Despite having experienced enlightenment for the second time, Sung Jin Wo was still weak at this moment. This spider was stronger than many of the previous bosses encountered, but so what? The monster in front of him didn't instill any fear in him. He smiled, his body tensed with energy. In the wealthy guy's astonished eyes, he swung the dagger made from the fangs of a poisonous snake, striking fiercely at the spider's body. The creature screamed in pain, feeling the effect of Sung Jin Wo's attack. The weapon crafted from boss fangs displayed its destructive power clearly. He landed on the ground, stood up firmly, gripping the short dagger tightly. His eyes were sharp, initiating the hunt. He relentlessly attacked the boss. The wealthy guy was stunned into silence by the sight. Is this really a level E hunter? To inflict damage with a short dagger, he needed to get as close as possible, but with its 8 legs and no blind spots, the sharp pincers could easily destroy rocks and soil. Normally, people find it hard to approach it, but Sung Jin Wo was not ordinary. The wealthy guy looked at him in disbelief. Who is he really? Such skills can't possibly be from a level E, but his records say he is. Or is he a fraud? In the cave, there were a few hunters who could manipulate magic. By deliberately concealing their true abilities, they could deceive the association's combat power measurement system to receive a lower level. These hunters were often called frauds. The problem was that most of them were serial killers with mental disorders. Perhaps Sung Jin Wo was one of those murderers. Looking at Sung Jin Wo's terrifying skills and demeanor, the wealthy guy's legs turned to jelly, and he collapsed to the ground. Well, that's unlucky. It's almost over before it even began. At this moment, Sung Jin Wo was fully engaged in combat with the spider, completely unaware that he was being regarded as a murderer. After a while, he still hadn't dealt any significant damage to the creature. Meanwhile, his strength was dwindling, and his fatigue was slowing him down, unable to sustain any longer. The only way to win was to utilize the special ability of the dagger, piercing through the creature's body. The weakness of every creature was its head, and the most vulnerable part was the eyes. This spider-like creature, now oozing green venom from its mouth, was no exception. Before he could even react, the toxic liquid immediately corroded the stone floor. It turned out it had another assassin's trick up its sleeve. To approach him, he had to move faster now. Sung Jin Wo absorbed his strength, activating his fast-running skill, and dashed towards the spider at lightning speed. He aimed straight for the spider's blind spot, causing multiple wounds and activating a paralyzing effect. But its resistance was too strong to be neutralized. By now, Sung Jin Wo's exhaustion level was rising. He gritted his teeth. Gotta be faster. The rapid movement caused his stamina to rapidly decline. He had to end the battle soon, or his strength would fail. He leaped up, intending to deliver a decisive blow to the spider, but it hissed right into his face. Immediately, he froze, as the spider's claw swatted him several meters away before crashing to the ground. Seizing the opportunity, the spider lunged back and struck Sung Jin Wo with its claw. Sung Jin Wo suddenly opened his eyes. The opportunity has come. Taking advantage of the moment when the enemy relaxed, he activated his system. Using the daily mission rewards to instantly restore his stamina. With lightning speed, he rushed towards the spider. In its horrified eyes, he thrust the short sword through its eye, yellow blood pouring out, activating the paralysis and blood loss effect. The enemy's blood decreased by 1% every second. After a series of continuous attacks, the spider's blood depleted, and its head exploded. The cave owner had been defeated. A notification window appeared, and Sung Jin Woo leveled up consecutively. He sighed, "Luckily, I didn't use up all of today's rewards. Otherwise, the consequences would have been dire." The rich man gasped in astonishment. Unbelievable. He really single-handedly defeated the final boss. This guy must be cheating. The rich man quickly took out the team flag. Called Sung Jin Woo brother, and offered water and volunteered to dig for spirits, leaving Sung Jin Woo surprised. Why did he suddenly change his attitude? But he quickly figured out the reason. Perhaps the rich man saw him as a lifesaver. At that moment, the cave door exploded, and the lizard-like hunters appeared. These greedy hunters temporarily trapped the two members in the boss room to seize a large amount of spirit. But when they returned, they were shocked to see both of them alive. The boss is dead. What just happened? Or was that spider just all bark and no bite? But look at the gear that rich guy has. It can handle a C-rank boss while that E-rank guy can't do anything. The boss must have been taken down by him alone. Maybe his Titan equipment has some special effects, which could be quite troublesome in a confrontation. Previously, I checked on my phone and saw this kid is the son of a wealthy tycoon from District Fuang. After some consideration, the captain offered the rich guy a chance to live on the condition that he kills Sung Jin Woo. If he kills Sung Jin Woo, the rich guy will become an accomplice to them. So even if the rich guy survives, they still have something to threaten him with. If he doesn't comply, both will die here. Facing the hunters who intended to harm him, the rich guy frowned and decided to stand with Sung Jin Woo. Seeing the rich guy acting tough, the hunters hesitated. They drew their weapons and slowly advanced towards Sung Jin Woo and the rich guy. At this moment, an urgent mission window appeared. There are enemies around who want to kill you. You need to eliminate all of them to ensure safety. Failure to comply with the instructions will result in corresponding punishment. The number of enemies to be eliminated is 8. While Sung Jin Woo was still puzzled, the mage rushed forward and unleashed their skills towards him. Boo! He was pushed back several meters and slammed into the wall. The rich guy glared angrily at the hunters. The group of murderers lay beneath the pile of debris. Sung Jin Woo muttered to himself, "How could I forget? This is the most fiercely competitive and vulnerable place. I have always been in a paralyzed state here. Even though I've escaped death countless times in the cave. After recovering, I always come back, but I thought this place was safe. But I was wrong. As long as there are enemies, there is no safety. To survive, you have to kill them. This is not by chance or goodwill. It's just the system's requirement. Not to make me stronger, but it needs a strong main. It's amazing, the system exploits me, and I exploit the system." The hunters continued to mock their teammate, the mage. "Since when were you so vulnerable? Shameful. Can't even kill an E-rank guy." But they didn't know that the mage had exerted all his efforts in the previous attack, yet Sung Jin Woo still managed to stand up. Or perhaps he wasn't hit. Sung Jin Woo emitted a dark aura as he spoke to the hunters who didn't know life from death. "Do you dare to joke with someone's life? I'm sure you're also prepared to be hunted down, aren't you?" But they still didn't realize the danger approaching and continued to mock Sung Jin Woo, believing themselves to be something. Sung Jin Woo's gaze turned sharp. "I ask you, as hunters, are you ready to be hunted?" A fool stepped forward and placed his hand on Sung Jin Woo's shoulder. "Kid, it seems like you still don't understand the situation." Sung Jin Woo didn't bother saying anything else to them. He quickly drew his knife and cut off the fool's neck. The system displayed that an enemy had been eliminated. The hunters panicked. Since when did that kid have a knife? Even if they were negligent, the guy who just died was still a D rank. How could he be killed by someone lower ranked? Driven by greed, they harbored thoughts of murder. Sung Jin Woo activated his assassin mission. He had to eliminate all those intending to harm him, or else he would be punished by the system. With just one strike, he dealt with the useless D rank. Now that he had killed, there was no other choice. Because if he didn't kill, he would be the one dead. The primal power surged within him, turning him into a ruthless hunting machine. The sorcerer activated his assassination mission, still unaware of impending death, and launched another strike towards Sung Jin Woo. However, Sung Jin Woo had already closed in on him in a blink of an eye, swiftly wielding his knife like a ninja, cutting the sorcerer in half before the eyes of his teammates. The hunters panicked and engaged in one-on-one combat. So be it, let's charge. A warrior wielding a long sword charged forward with his sword down, but only managed to strike empty air. Before he could react, Sung Jin Woo was right in front of him. 2 swift strikes. 3 hunters in panic, so fast, impossible to touch, and his body doesn't even move. This kid even knows magic. The rich man looked on in shock. When fighting the boss, he was even more terrifying than this. In just a moment, all the small fry had been taken care of. The captain panicked, and in an instant, all his subordinates were wiped out. It turns out he had been hiding his true strength from the beginning. He must have definitely killed the boss as well. Regardless, he was a grade C expert, not at all inferior even when facing hunters of the same level. He activated his enhanced skills combined with defensive gear, turning himself into a long-range fighter. In absolute defense, any speed was useless. But he didn't know that Sung Jin Woo was not only fast but also incredibly powerful. His strength was terrifying. Moreover, he was continuously leveling up. Lying on the ground, the captain couldn't believe that his proud defensive system was being broken by each sword strike. When he was about to die, he realized the terrifying power of Sung Jin Woo. Even suspecting that he might be the rumored cheater, seeing that he couldn't win, he begged Sung Jin Woo for mercy. He promised to hand over all the spirits and gems in the cave to Sung Jin Woo. But Sung Jin Woo looked at him coldly. For the 3rd time, you want to kill me, and now you beg for mercy. The captain turned pale with fear. Do you think you can survive after doing this? Aren't you supposed to keep what happened in the cave a secret? Does this kid know who my younger brother is? Before the captain could finish his sentence, Sung Jin Woo swiftly struck, ending the miserable life of the scum. With the announcement that the last enemy had been defeated, the system announced the completion of the mission, restoring status and energy, and increasing potential points. Out of greed and murderous intent, the hunters activated Sung Jin Woo's assassination mission. To survive, he had to defeat them. The news quickly spread to the Hunter Association, with a subordinate reporting to Director Yujin Chun. The report stated that 8 people had died in the C-rank cave, with only D and E-rank hunters surviving. Director Yujin Chun seemed accustomed to hunters fleeing in caves, but the subordinates reported that they didn't run away. On the contrary, they even defeated the final boss. The D-rank hunter named YNHO had expensive equipment, making him capable of defeating a C-rank boss. However, this time the boss was a giant spider, which shouldn't have been a threat to an experienced team. Yet, 8 team members died, which was strange. Upon hearing this, Director Yujin Chun decided to address the issue directly. The subordinates mentioned that the surviving E-rank hunter was Sung Jin Woo from the Double Cave incident. Surprised by the name, Director Yujin Chun had previously concluded that Sung Jin Woo was useless in combat, so he didn't think it was worth wasting time on him. However, when he learned that one of the deceased was Huan Zhang Xu's brother, Huan Zhang Suk, he frowned. Huan Zhang Suk was one of the few outstanding hunters. Leaving the cave, Sung Jin Woo returned home. Despite being frugal, he bought fried chicken and beer to treat himself today. He tilted his head back to drink the beer, but the system activated a passive skill, preventing him from getting drunk even when he wanted to. This was the first passive skill he acquired after becoming a player, a secret reward for the brave task of a weakling. Thanks to it, all illnesses and poisons dealt 20% less damage. Because of it, Sung Jin Woo's severed leg had been able to regenerate. He suddenly remembered the Kasa poison he had obtained, which reduced an additional 20% damage but also decreased strength by 35%. Luckily, Sung Jin Woo's poison resistance was effective. Thinking so, he directly opened the poison gland into his mouth. Shortly after, the system detected the harmful components and successfully removed the side effects of the poison. At this moment, the rich man called to invite Sung Jin Woo to meet at a cafe. Despite their past battles, Sung Jin Woo still had a soft spot for the rich man. After escaping the cave, the rich man had given all his jewels to Sung Jin Woo and even protected his life. Thanks to that, he could now live peacefully. However, the rich man still thought Sung Jin Woo was a cheater, a murderer who killed for pleasure. They shouldn't have contacted each other, but he wanted to establish a separate attack team. Before he could finish his words, Sung Jin Woo rejected him. He wasn't interested in hunting with the rich man's son, playing the hunter's game. The rich man insisted that if they hunted together 19 more times, he would generously reward Sung Jin Woo. Sung Jin Woo warned, "The cave is not a game. Hunters not only kill monsters but also people." After witnessing such horrifying scenes, do you still want to form a team? Or do you want to become a labor union leader? The rich man's gaze was determined. To join the labor union leadership, he needed to lead a team 20 times. If I participate 19 more times and pass the written exam, I can qualify. The reason I want to become a labor union leader is related to my father's association. He really wants to establish a labor union. Although the cave is dangerous, it contains many treasures. Gems and spirits are just a part of it. Monster corpses can also be used as materials. Therefore, everything in the cave is valuable, and large corporations also want to participate. If I become a labor union leader, I can establish a commercial hunting team. My father wants to hire a grade S as the team leader. My older brother will be the deputy leader, still a hybrid like the association. Although his older brother was very capable, he wasn't awakened, so he couldn't be the team leader. Between the team leader and the deputy leader, conflicts were inevitable. Through accumulating combat experience, the rich man wanted to persuade his father. For him, Sung Jin Woo was the ideal candidate to establish the team. Just the fact that he could defeat a grade C boss and grade C hunters alone without any difficulty meant that his level, at the very least, had to be B, or even higher. Despite his cold and indifferent appearance, he had saved the rich man and grade Go hunters from the spider boss and Huanzhong SUK's human hunting team. Moreover, he had excellently completed the team mission with grade E hunters, which brought significant benefits to the team. Sung Jin Woo's desire to conceal his strength for battle also necessitated a supportive team. The rich man promised to keep Sung Jin Woo's strength a secret for life. Additionally, he gave Sung Jin Woo a stack of documents. Sung Jin Woo looked through them and was astonished. This young master is so impulsive that he has paid 2 billion to recruit hunters as teammates, which is unbelievable. The condition was that Sung Jin Woo would accompany him 19 times to conquer the grade C cave. Not long ago, Sung Jin Woo couldn't even afford to buy a weapon to enter the cave. The amount of money involved was like manna from heaven for him.